Hey everyone, and welcome into another episode of Rain and Cane, where we give the University of Tulsa Athletic Department coverage. My name is Jeremy Poplin. Thank you for those of you that have hit that subscribe button. If you haven't yet, please go ahead and do so. Comment, like, you know what to do. But we're going to try to continue to grow this thing as we inch ever so closer to the starts of the college football season. And today was Media Day up at Chapman. Had an opportunity to not only catch up with the coaches, but also a couple of the players as well. And we're going to dive right into it. One of the intriguing situations that's happening right now is the quarterback spot. It's a three-horse race. If you listen to the coaches, you've heard Coach Wilson talk about it. Coach Spurrier talked about it today. And one of the young men that's right now in position to battle for that starting job is a kid that was thrown into the middle of the fire last year. 4 opportunities to play, 2 starts. One of those was an incredible start at Tulane. He is Kirk Francis, and I had a chance to catch up with him earlier today. And I got to tell you, it is a pleasure talking to this young man.
Do you look back on last year and think of what a whirlwind that it was? Because I can only imagine, like, through all your conversations with the coaching staff about what their plan was for you, and originally a redshirt, right?
100%,
and
yes.
then to get into the middle of the season, see everything that the position itself went through. Next thing you know, you find yourself playing.
Right.
So when you had time to reflect, what was the reflection like for you?
I mean, it definitely was a crazy 8, 9, 10 months. You know, even from January when I didn't know where I was going to go, when Coach Wilson got hired, and then, you know, when I eventually joined the team. And then throughout fall camp last year and early in the season, the plan was for me to just be on the scout team. And then, you know, unfortunately for the team with injuries and, you know, some stuff going on, you know, I was forced to play in the Charlotte game. And then after that game, we had some injuries. I was forced to play on the road against Tulane. We had a great game. You know, we weren't able to finish that one out. But then it was like, well, you know what? Let's see what he can do. And then on the, you know, at home against North Texas, then on the road, we finally got a win at East Carolina. And then, you know, going to the offseason just with the unknown, you know. But it really was a huge blessing just to be able to come in front of play in front of my family and friends, you know, hometown. It brings me a lot of pride for sure.
You have to be confident, right, in yourself. When was that moment, though, that hit you? I can play. Did it hit you last year in the season, or is that something that after it was over, you're like, you know what, I can do this?
You know, definitely there's ups and downs of the season, you know, just not knowing anything throughout. When you're on the defensive side of the ball on scout team, you know, and you're throwing some touchdowns, it makes you feel good. But really, I would say that moment was against Tulane on the road, you know, a top 25 team, top 20 team, going down there, having a good day, throwing for over 300 yards was a good day. You know, me and my teammate Cam Benjamin had a great connection that day, and that was kind of an eye-opening experience. Like, you know what, we can do this. You know, we can win some games here, and we can have a lot of success.
We talked to you post-game after that game.
Yep.
And there was clearly upset about the way that the game ended.
For sure.
But you had almost a understated exuberance to your being, because you could tell, like, from your style of play, it was almost like at that moment, like even someone that from the outside could tell, like, all right, I think maybe something clicked mentally for you.
100%. 100%. It was definitely an eye-opening experience. You know, it kind of all clicked in that game. Everyone talks about that slowing down experience when you kind of fully understand the game. You know, obviously you still have a lot to learn, but that was my first moment of, hey, you know what? I can do this. You know, I can be put on the road in a good test against the top 25 team, and, you know, we can have success. And we really thought we should have won that game. You know, we narrowly squeaked out a loss there, but, you know, we really felt like we could win it, and that gave us a lot of confidence and hope throughout the rest of the season, and then carried over into the offseason this year.
You look bigger. So how much weight have you put on, and did you grow in terms of, like, size? Because you look tall.
Yes. Well, I appreciate that. I played last year at about 190.
By the way, not that you were short. I'm just saying you look taller
Well,
than
thank
from
you,
what
sir.
I remember
Yeah.
last year.
I played last year right under 190.
Okay.
And right now I'm about 203,
All right.
212, 202, so about 12, 13 pounds of good weight. You know, our strength staff has really done a great job, nutrition-wise and in the weight room. You know, I owe them a lot. They've really helped me out, and just really buying into the strength staff here has really helped me out a lot.
You feel better physically with that extra weight on?
Definitely. You know, I feel a lot stronger. I feel like I can take more hits, be more durable. You know, my arm feels great. You know, it's in great shape, and I'm really excited to feel like I can be prepared to take more hits and play a full season this year.
Durability is something that gets overlooked by just the general fan
No doubt.
base in general all the time. So how important is it for you to even feel the confidence that you can be more durable?
You know, it's huge. I mean, last year we played 4 quarterbacks. You know, Coach Dennis said last year at Ohio State they played 3 quarterbacks. So, you know, that's something we talk about a lot. You know, being able to withstand the the journey of an entire season, a 12, 13, maybe 14 game season. It's a lot on a body, and we get 2 bye weeks this year, but it's really a toll that your body takes throughout the end of the season, and it means a lot just to have confidence going into it about my body.
Where have you grown the most from the end of last year to right now?
Definitely mentally, on the mental side of the ball, just understanding protections, run schemes, what we're trying to do philosophically within the offense. Coach Dennis and I have spent a lot of time this offseason and this summer working on things, just trying to understand what we're trying to do philosophically and how we get to different looks and what we want to do against different teams. And I think that I've really gained a lot of confidence and composure in the pocket just with the different knowledge. And I think that preparation leads to a lot more confidence on the field and a lot better performance.
There's a lot more names on the wide receiver, or just in the room in general. Yeah. Who are guys that you feel good camaraderie with, like here early on, and who are some of the guys that you expect to take an extra step forward at that position?
No, we definitely have a lot of talent this year. I'm really excited to see. Guys like Cam Benjamin, Braylon Presley coming back. We have 2 transfers, Zion Steptoe, Jeremiah Ballard. Grayson Tempest, my roommate, I feel like he's going to be a big piece for us this year. And then we got some freshmen coming in, Josh Smith, Corey. And then we have a lot of other guys like Emmers and, Alex Green. We had a really big freshman class coming in, one of the highest rated classes in recent history. I feel like they're going to play a pivotal piece for us this year.
Did you do anything fun this summer? Get to go anywhere, or did you just mainly hang out?
Yeah, really we were just here with the strength staff this year. I went down to Jacksonville with my quarterback coach, Will Hewlett, got to work out, got to meet some great guys, some other college quarterbacks at some big programs. Between our summer session 1 and 2, I got to work out with some of his NFL guys who were there after minicamp, which was really cool. Great experience. Just to see how those guys live, how they attack every single day, and how they prepare their bodies, and how they take care of themselves was really cool.
All right, so there's Kirk Francis, clearly a young man that's put in a lot of work here in the offseason, looks the part now much more than ever before, and I really like the confidence that he has about him. There was a moment earlier today in which someone said, hey, typically early in camp, the defense is kind of giving the offense a little bit of hell. They're ahead of them. And Kirk, instantly was like, nope, that's not the case at all. And I love that confidence for him moving forward as a quarterback. Let's hear from offensive coordinator Steve Spurrier Jr. on that quarterback competition that's happening right now and could last at least for the majority of camp.
The one is declared. But, yeah, they're absolutely all competing. We'll let them all play it out and find out who can help this team win the most. And they have kind of some different strengths. We bring Coop in from Utah State, who I think he has 24 games he's played in and thrown a bunch of balls and a lot of experience. And there's some value in that. On the field, in the meeting room, around the team, he's got the presence of a guy that's played some football. So there's some value in that. He's also run the ball a decent amount. I think he had 184 carries or something in his career. So he's an athletic, kind of thick guy that he's got some strengths that he can add to our offense. So it's interesting watching each guy, what their strengths are and how we play to them. But, yeah, between now and then, whenever that may be, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, hopefully in that 2-3 weeks from now, hopefully a week or two away from that first game, you can really hone in on exactly who your guy is. But I think other guys will contribute too. I think Coop and Cardell will certainly, and Francis, what their strengths are, they will all find a place to play in the offense this year.
One of the overall themes so far from the early portion of camp, and especially today at Media Day, has been the vibe. Kevin Wilson talked about the vibe is completely different than it was last year. A lot of that is, in Kevin's words, the fact that they have so many new faces, 56, only 16 that were on scholarship when Kevin Wilson took the job. And Kevin basically said, hey, I'm like, no offense to anyone, but these are kids that we recruited as a staff. So it kind of provides a little bit of a better vibe. And you got that sense today, not only from the coaches, but from a lot of the players that you talked to as well. Here's Kevin Wilson from earlier today.
Now we just got a few days, into it. And I think, our schedule's basically the same, and not that schedule's that big a deal to the guys. But I think, it's hard. We had a good group of kids last year, but, you have a different language or a different way of doing it or different expectations. And, sometimes, you've got to earn their trust, and that takes time. So sometimes there's always a little bit of distrust or not as tight or as unified as you'd like. Now, you've got a lot of new players, but not to sound bad, but those are the guys that you recruited, so maybe there's a little bit more connection. And not that you recruited better players, but I think sometimes players and coaches can get attracted to each other. You know, there are kids that come on visits here that sometimes I'm like, I tell the coach, I don't know if I like that. I don't think that guy fits, that family. And then I'm sure a lot of times they walk over there saying, I don't know if I like those guys. I don't know if I fit. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. So even though you got some new players, and not that they're better because we recruited them, but I think there's a little bit more connection with the coach, the position coach, the head coach, and then the guys that are back. And even yesterday, I think I shared that with the team yesterday or the day before, that there's 16 scholarship guys, and they all kind of started smiling and nodding and saying, yeah, I'm one of those guys. And they feel good about that because they have, I think, embraced what we're about. We're practicing with more volume, more yardage, more workload than we ever did last year in the first 3 days. And they're embracing, I think Coach Sweeney calls it the suck. I call it we're going to have fun working hard. And I think they're embracing that. So I just think there's a better connection. You feel that. Still doesn't mean we're going to block or tackle as good as I'd like to, or throw catches and cover as well as you'd like to, or tackle. But it's a good group to be around, and they like being around each other. You walk in the meeting room. If you had a chance right now, I mean, we ought to bring you over one day and just go down the dining hall and just watch them, and the way they interact with each other, and the chemistry and cohesion that they're bonding with is pretty cool.
One of the big question marks that I think goes hand in hand with the quarterback, and the coaches will tell you as well, is the offensive line. This team is going to go as far offensively as the offensive line can take them. Comments today as well from not only Kevin Wilson, but from Steve Spurrier Jr. on the offensive line.
You know, you always talk about offensively, and Coach Wilson, I remember I sat in with him. We had a quarterback recruited, and he said, tell me what your offense is. And I was kind of curious just to hear him specifically explain it. And he said, well, let me tell you something. We will always start with who our offensive line is. Who are those guys and what can they do? And what can they not do? And we will define what we do and how we do it based on their strengths and weaknesses. We lose a bunch of guys that were some older guys from last year, but we got a lot of new, young, hungry, tough, energetic, kind of fired-up guys. So, again, we've got a long way to go before those guys are really, really ready to play at a high level. But it's a youthful group. It's an energetic group. Excited to see Coach Fry working with those guys. And they got a chance to do some good things. But still a work in progress. But it's always fun to deal with young, energetic guys and kind of watching toughness getting enforced and watching those guys kind of bond together, figuring out who those top 5 guys are. And but our offense and how we do this year will really be based on how strong those 5 develop between now and the first game.
Coach Polizzi also met with the media today, the defensive coordinator for Tulsa, and I had a chance to ask him a couple of questions, and we mainly focus on players in year 2. I think one of the big keys this year for TU is that this is year number 2 for the staff. And on top of coming in, trying to feel your way through year 1, like Coach Polizzi is also having a kid, the transition of moving, and everything that entails of trying to dive in as a defensive coordinator, the recruiting responsibilities that come along with it. It's a lot to take over. And I think having another year under everyone's belt as a coaching staff is going to be that much more beneficial to the overall program. And that was a theme today as well. So I asked Coach Polizzi today, not only difference in vibe and different feel, but also what he learned in year 1 as the defensive coordinator at TU.
What's the difference between year 1, year 2, vibe, and what did you learn from your first year?
Good question. The vibe is totally different, and I think you can say that oftentimes from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, but I think we have a group that understands more what the direction of what we're asking from them as a staff. I think there is always going to be change when, you have a new voice, you know what I mean, in going from a previous head coach to Coach Wilson to understanding the demand, you know what I mean, that, when you're able to coach them hard, you know what I mean, and they understand, hey, this guy's trying to make me better when it comes from a place of love. And I think the vibe is just that the guys are excited to come into the building. There's a different energy in the locker room. There's a different energy in practice. You saw it start to take shape in the weight room when our guys really attacked the weight room and loading up the bar. And, the competition between other guys, looking at each other between the bars, like, what's he doing? Has he got a 5 on there? I'm going to put a 10 on there. Has he got a 25 on there? I'm going to put 30 pounds on there. And so the pushing of each other to improve, in your own personal development. But as that manifested itself onto the practice field, we had 15 great practices where the offense would have a day, defense would have a day, but it wasn't that. It was the team getting better. It was individuals getting better. It was communication from player to coach and player to player. That was a great vibe. And then we had a kick-ass summer. I mean, the kids really, really crushed it this summer as far as being where they're supposed to be, doing what they're supposed to do, but having energy and attacking the day. We talk a little bit in the safety room about, am I playing on my heels, am I playing on my toes? You want to play on your toes all the time. You want to play on your toes in life, and that's what our guys were able to do this summer. And you see it in camp. Like, we've been able to get through a good amount of install, with our players understanding, what the structure of it is, but they're playing fast, And sometimes you can have some great schemes, sometimes you can have some simple scheme, but if your guys are playing fast downhill and they're playing for each other and they're communicating, you're able to have some success. Some of the things that I learned just as a coordinator is, you can never practice the fundamentals enough. One of the things I think we would sit back as a staff and say, boy, this is versus what they're doing offensively. This is a great call. This is a great scheme. We're putting our players in a great position, and we would focus on that scheme, and we would get to Saturday, and they'd be in the right place, but they would miss the tackle. You know what I mean? And we would say, God, we're perfect. We're perfect. Well, we messed up on the front end by not just, hey, let's practice tackling for the first 15 days. You know what I mean? So every day that we've been going out there in non-padded practices, non-padded situations, we're working on tracking the football. We're working on matching the ball carrier. Don't have to have pads on for that. You know what I mean? And now we put on pads. Now we're working on, hey, the physicality of running through someone. What's the difference with my hand placements and things like that. So I think it's more, and sometimes you can lose that as a coach because you're so focused on the schematics and the verbiage and the terms. But, hey, are our guys getting in a great stance? Hey, are we practicing that every single day? Everybody in this room is probably pretty good at tying your shoelaces because you do it every single day. I think that's one of the important things. Our guys need to wake up thinking, if that lunch lady's, I'm tracking that lunch lady right now, and I got angles on her, and I'm gonna keep my head behind and wrap up. I think we've got an opportunity to be a successful football team, and our guys have bought into every aspect of that. I think that's one of the best parts about our guys is they are so eager and willing. They're hungry to be developed. They're hungry for the information of how can I get better. And I'm never satisfied with where I'm at in my development. I always just want to get better at my craft.
I had one more question for Coach Polizzi. And I heard Lane Kiffin say this at SEC Media Day. This is a different year in college football for many reasons, but also because of the communication that they have inside of the helmet. I think we know and have a general idea of how much that can help offensively, but I was always curious defensively. And I heard Lane Kiffin say that he feels like it will be a little bit of a detriment because now defenses will have the ability to actually understand what is going on by being able to look at images on the tablet on the sidelines. And there's still a lot of things to work through, whether or not that darn thing works all the time on the sidelines or not. But Lane's comment was that he would flip over in the headset on the sideline and listen to the defensive staff start to chart the plays. And Lane said, in his opinion, he felt like about 70% of the charting was wrong. And for one reason or another, that stood out to me. So I asked Coach Polizzi about that today. How much of a benefit is that for the defensive staff to be able to look at it and say, all right, no, that actually wasn't what they were doing here. They were actually doing this. And he picked up on that and went even further with the teaching element that it can be for the guys on the sidelines.
Appreciate it. Oh, sorry.
How much will being able to look at the tablet on the sidelines be able to provide positive reinforcement with what you're doing. I heard Lane Kiffin say this, so take it with a grain of salt, but he said when he would flip over in the headset and listen to the defensive guys chart the previous series, he was like, it felt like they were wrong like 70% of the time. So how much of that will help this year with that?
I think it will be huge. One of the things that, from a defensive standpoint, you are always attacking the offense, but you are also reacting to what they are doing. If they're living in empty, you need to make sure that you have a good plan as you move through the game to attack their empty. If they're not in empty, why are we discussing empty? You know what I mean? We need to focus on what they're doing and what they're doing well. So I think for us to have the ability to see cleanly, and not only that, to be able to show the players, hey, look, you said you were in the B gap. You are not in the B gap. You know what I mean? And not to have to make those corrections on Sunday. I think that will help the defense far more than I think it will help the offense. I'm still interested to see on how it's exactly going to work. Who has tablets? How many tablets? When does it cut out? What is it showing? What are we doing? Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Same thing with the microphones and the helmet. It was a relief during one of our spring practices to just be able to talk to Gavin Potter, Chris Thompson, Marchicelli, where I didn't have to scream across the field. And I could turn around and say, hit the button to, hey, tell Dane he's got to back up to 12 yards. So I'd see him turn around, and Dane would look over and give me a thumbs up. Like, the stress level of me not having to scream 60 yards across the field, hey, Dane, you got to back up. And can Dane clearly hear what I'm saying? So I'm interested to see how that works. Now, I still think there'll be signals. I still think there'll be some of that minutia. But, I would agree with Lane, who's won a bunch of games. He's clearly an offensive guy. I think it will help the defense benefit them far more than it will the offense. And special teams as well. I think that's also a hidden gem right there. You've got 22 people as spread out as they can be running into each other, and you've got one special teams coordinator and an assistant, some guys looking at some stuff like, hey, where'd that come free? And it's silence on the headphones. Well, that's not good. So I think special teams defensively, that'll be the biggest adjustment for us. Yeah.
Hey, again, if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. Always appreciate your comments, and always looking for not only ideas for content, but your thoughts and your feedback as well. Poplin Show here on YouTube, and also poplinshow@gmail.com. Email me up. Let's talk about it as we continue to bring you University of Tulsa coverage here on Rain and Cane. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate every single last one of you. More content dropping here over the next couple of days as we go through players at Media Day. And again, can't thank you enough for tuning in.